guys are going to raise our roof today, I have a feeling. I'm so excited about my show today. Okay, you know who's here. Paula Jones is here. And to me, after we clear away everything, the whole thing is about one issue. And here's what I think is going on. In fact, here is what's going on. It's not just my opinion. The president perjured himself in his deposition for the Paula Jones civil case when he denied that he had a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. Now, Kenneth Starr charges that he possibly broke the law again by covertly asking Monica and perhaps other people to lie under oath, too. This is why Paula matters, because without Paula, there's no Monica. And stripping away the layers of the onion, for those of us who cook, there really is a deeper issue underneath the Clintonite spin of this right-wing conspiracy to get the president, because I guess apparently conservatives are not letting the president keep his pants zipped up or something. And also underneath the feeding frenzy of the news media and beneath what seems like to me the total hypocrisy of all the feminist organizations, not to mention the glee that the conservatives display believing they bring down a Democrat president, which has totally backfired on them. The real issue here, underneath all the stuff, is sexual harassment. In the workplace. And the fact is that both of these people's lives, our president and Paula's lives, were altered, and so was the life of our country altered forever because of what happened on May 8, 1991. Today, we're going to hear from the woman who has recently been vindicated, borrowing a phrase that us feminists used in the 60s. What happens to women either matters or it doesn't. Decide again today. After 4 years of living under a microscope, she's finally won a settlement with our president, Bill Clinton, for $850,000. Now that sounds like an apology to me. Please welcome Paula Jones. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So what do you think of that Deborah Norville? She works for the same Joes I work for, you know.
Yeah. She was real professional. She's intimidating, though. She intimidated me a little bit. I've had so much criticism and everything from different ones, and all these people on all these talk shows badgering back and forth about my new nose and about my new hairstyle and everything. That
Why do they keep talking about the way you look now and the way you used to look then, the way your hair looks, and nobody gets to like the real deal?
They don't.
Why is that?
It's because they have a personal issue, I guess, with me instead of what has happened with Bill Clinton. It seems to me as though that they're not blaming him for what he did to me, but I have to look a certain way or act a certain way, and they just attack me, and they go after the victim and try to make them look as though that they did something wrong. And they talk about my looks and
they talk about, you know, people in trailer courts. What's that about?
I don't know. I've never lived in a trailer park. I've never lived in a trailer in my life.
No, but even if you had, Paula,
why would it matter?
People who live in trailer parks are huge Clinton supporters.
Absolutely.
Right?
He sends his pit bulls out to attack the people who are the biggest supporters of Bill Clinton, who are the low-income people that maybe can't afford anything else. And there's nothing wrong with living in a trailer. But the way they spun it, it was though it was a pitiful shame to live in a trailer park and you drag a $100 bill through a trailer park and see what you'll come up with. It was really sad. It hurt.
How much do you think that the whole... It seems to me like we're moving more and more towards a two-tiered system, which, I mean, everybody already says we have in the courts. Justice for the rich and none for the poor, and a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with that, like elite people and then the lower classes. How much of that has to do with the fact that Paula Jones grew up in a working-class family?
I don't know. I just think that, well, I don't have a law degree, you know, and like Anita Hill did when she claimed that there was a pubic hair on a Coke can, and that was sexual harassment. All the now organizations, women come out for her. They didn't me. I really don't know.
You know what bugs me about that with the the whole rallying around Anita Hill, which, I mean, I'm not saying it's about Anita Hill or nothing like that, but Clarence Thomas apparently is right, because he said that it was just a big feeding frenzy of a whole bunch of white women going after a black man, and yet these very same women turned on you and protected the white man who has 10 times the strikes against him that Clarence Thomas ever had.
Well, look at his trail. I mean, look at all the stuff that's been said about him and all the women that have come forward and different things. I don't know why they do that. You know, it's just...
It seems it seems old. It seems like something that...
It's just their tactic.
People like me fought like 25 years to get away from blaming women for stuff that men do.
Right. It's going right back, blaming me, dragging up the penthouse pictures that well, it was pictures that I had taken with a former boyfriend that was very humiliating at the time. I was 19 years old. And they drug those out, trying to make it look as though I was a loose woman. And
that's what they outlawed in rape cases, that you were not going to be able to attack the victim's sexual past
anymore. And it set us back 50 years. Just
I think so,
the president set us back 50 years of this whole situation, and all of his pit bulls, you know, that come forward and attack the women. All of the women that have come out in this case, I mean, they're not making this up. I guess they think every woman is lying on Bill Clinton. They're not making it up, and they just attack every single one of them.
And the thing that's so disturbing to me about it is, one of the things, there's 1,000 things that are disturbing as a woman, and a woman who worked for the cause of women for a long, long time, and paid a price for it, which I guess you have now too.
Yeah.
But it takes away the tooth out of something that we worked 25 years to get where, you know, if it doesn't matter if a guy perjures himself in a sexual harassment case, then there is no protection of sexual harassment for women, right?
Right. I mean, that's just the way it seems. I mean,
because any guy can go in and just perjure himself, and then we say, oh, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Well, that poor woman that was on one of these shows, she got convicted and had a thing put on her leg because she couldn't even go to her mailbox because she perjured herself in a civil case as well, similar to this. And Clinton gets completely by with it, and then they say, oh, he just perjured himself about sex. Perjury is perjury. He lied. No matter how you look at it, it's a lie. And he lied, and he should be held responsible for it. I couldn't lie, and under oath, they would have took me to jail. They would have thrown me in there, or anybody
Were you totally
else.
freaked when you finally figured out? Because I'm like I can pretty well figure out. You know, your dad was a preacher, right? You came from a working class background.
Right.
You totally believed in the American judicial system, right?
Yes, I did, absolutely. And just like I said, too, when I went to his deposition back in January, when he testified under oath, put his hand on the Bible, swore that he would tell the whole truth, he did not tell the truth. And naive me, maybe I still am gullible and naive, I knew that day I was going to get the truth, and I was so excited. But when I left, I was so disappointed because I knew he had lied, not just about me, but about the other stuff that was asked about Monica.
We're going to get to the other stuff. We're going to take a commercial and come back with more with Paula Jones.
It is wrong that a woman could work in the workplace and be harassed by a figure that high, and it's just humiliating what he did to me.
Well, we're back with more Paula Jones, and we are going to go to the audience and take some of their questions later on, but now I get to be really nosy because I want to know what happened. Okay. What happened from the very beginning when the bodyguard comes down and asks you to meet your boss's boss?
Well, we were at a little table because we were outside at the conference handing out name tags and booklets and stuff to the industry people in Arkansas. And they were in session, so Danny Ferguson was the bodyguard at the time. And he was kind of...
And the governor had his offices in this hotel. But tell us what happened when Danny Ferguson comes down and gets you. You're 23 years old, about Monica's age.
Yeah, I was 23 years old. And during that time, you know, when they were in conference, and I don't know where Bill Clinton was at this time, he was kind of mulling around, and he would once in a while come over and chat with us. Well, I remember asking him, me and my friend Pam, we said, do you pack a gun? Because he was in a plain coat uniform, and he showed us his gun. He pulled it back, and he was packing a gun on the side and everything. And
Clinton or...
Danny Ferguson.
Oh, okay.
No, he might have been too. I don't know. And so, so he left, and I don't know where they went, and it was in the afternoon. What
time in the afternoon? About 2,
It was around 3:30, somewhere around that time.
During a work day?
Yes, absolutely. I was on the job. That's what people I don't think understand. I was working, and he was working. This was the governor's quality management conference that I was working at. He come over to me. He kneeled down. Me and Pam were about this far apart. He kneeled in between us, and he handed me a piece of paper. He said that the governor, I think that was the words he used, or Bill Clinton, whatever, wants to meet with you in this hotel room number. And it had a 4-digit number on it. And I looked at it, and I said, well, why would he want to meet with me? And he said, it's okay. We do this all the time. And, well, I didn't know what he meant, but I do now. I know what they meant. And so, I do. And so, I said, well, I want to talk
How
over
dumb
with
were
him.
you, though? I mean, how dumb were you?
Well, I didn't know.
I mean, you're 23.
Honest to God, now I would never do that again if I was asked to do something. But this is your boss.
It's so
Why
sad that you would. So if another governor asked to meet you, you would never go meet another governor?
No, that's not true. Probably not.
I mean,
because
who
I'm not
would
supposed
think
to,
of that?
Right.
Who would think when they say that the governor wants to meet you? Who would think that it's going to be?
Something sexual, or him wanting to.
And why do they continually excuse? Like, well, you should have known the governor wanted to meet you.
Right. It's so as I'm supposed to know right away that it's going to be something sexual up in that room. There was no bed in this room. It was like an office suite. And I didn't even think about it. I mean, why should I? He's the governor, and if I'm asked to go up there. But I did talk it over with Pam. And she said, well, maybe we could get a better job or something like that. And I said, well, yeah, I just worked there for, not to do nothing for it, but...
Yeah.
And so I talked it over with her. She said, yeah, because she hadn't been there very long.
Because you guys worked really hard, right? And you thought...
Yes. And we thought, well, maybe we could get a job in the governor's office.
Right.
And so we decided, yeah, she said, okay, I'll watch your post. You go up there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
I mean, it's such an innocent thing when you're... I can see it in your life with, like, where you came from.
Absolutely.
You were, like, kind of...
Well,
I don't want to say backwoods, but you kind of were backwoods.
I was from the country.
You're a total country, yeah.
I was. I still am. I mean, I talk still country, too, but I can't help it. But, you know, so I talked it over with her. She said, well, I will keep the time, you know, because we didn't want to get in trouble for me being away from my desk or whatever. And she said, well, I'll just tell them that they sent for you to come up there. And so he came back over to see if I was going to go, and then I said, okay, I'll go up there. And he escorted me up to the room, and the door was just ajar a little bit, and he pointed the door out to me just a few feet away, and he stood outside. He had a chair out there.
So you go in the door. There's the governor.
I knocked on the door facing.
Yeah.
And he opened the door, and...
The governor opened the door?
Yeah, he opened the door, and he already had his suit coat off. I remember because me and Pam were making fun of him because he had these really tight, ugly, out-of-date suit on that was too short for him, and he was kind of overweight then, and we were making fun of him. And then Trooper Ferguson said that I said he looked cute or something. Well, we were making fun of him.
Like, what did you say about him?
Because he was, we thought, well, him being the governor, he could wear better suits than that. This sucker was too short, and it was out of date, and it was kind of an off-tan color. It was just, he was just overweight back then. He's had weight problems up and down. And it was just... Well, I mean, it's true, and he was overweight, and we were making fun of him. But when I opened up the door, well, when we opened it up,
yeah, he already has his suit.
Unloosening his tie. His suit coat was off.
Okay.
I noticed that right away, but I didn't think nothing of it. He was kind of loosening his tie as he was opening the door up. And I walked in, he introduced himself, and I introduced myself.
Were you freaked, first of all, because you had never met him before, right?
No, I've never met him. I was excited at that time. You know, I was excited then. I was meeting the governor. What does he want to meet with me for? And so, and now I found out.
So then what happened?
And then
he goes, sit down, Paula. Does he even ask you to sit down?
No, I don't think so.
What did he start talking to you about?
I walked in, and he was talking to me about which area do you work in, and I told him he knew I worked for AIDC because that was the group that put on the conferences. And he said, what part do you work in? And I told him, and he said, well, Dave Harrington is a close friend of mine. He said he appointed him to that job.
Was that your boss?
He was my immediate supervisor, yeah. He was
so he's
the director.
Yeah, he's schmoozing you, and you're thinking, oh boy.
Yeah, and I thought, I didn't know anything was coming at this point. And then it was just a few minutes later, we were over by the window, because we were way up tall in the, I don't know what floor we were on. And there was the river, Arkansas River flows right down below. And I was over at the window looking out, because it was a beautiful view. And he come over there, and he turned around, and because I was looking out this way.
You're looking out the window?
Yeah. And he turned around, and he was kind of leaning up against the windowsill. They're kind of high.
He's kind of sitting on it, you
yeah,
mean?
kind of, yeah. And we were talking, and then the next thing you know,
Do you remember what you were talking about?
No, I don't. I just remember asking her some things about what Hillary was doing. She was doing a lot of things for the children and stuff like that in schools and stuff, and I was talking to her about that. But I really don't recall what we're talking about at each specific time. But we weren't talking about sex or anything like that. And while he was talking to me, he just, as though he wasn't. He was talking to me, but he was doing this as we were talking and started grabbing me up. Started grabbing me.
By your arms?
Yes, by my hands. He picked my arms up because they were down behind me, picked them up and pulled me over to him. And it started to kiss me. And I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "No, stop." And then I backed away and I walked over. The room's really big. I walked over and there was a wingback chair. And I walked over near it because it was closer to the door. And he come over and followed me, and I was still trying to talk to him. I don't know at this point. Maybe we were still talking about
How come you were still talking to him? After he tried to kiss you, why didn't you slap him or something?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Was your head like all in a big old uproar?
I was terrified. At this point in time, I knew the governor that had his body card outside the door. I knew he had a gun because he showed it to me. And I was scared to death. I really was. I mean, maybe it sounds funny, but I was really scared. Yeah. And I thought, well, how am I going to get out of here? You know?
Did you feel like you'd been picked up like a piece of meat and thrown to the lion?
Well, yeah, well, at this point, I was trying to still get out, and I thought, how am I going to get out? If I run out, what's going to happen? And I even thought, am I being videotaped? Am I being set up? I didn't know. I was just, all these things are going through my mind. And until you're in the position, you don't know what you do until you're in that position. If it was just like maybe just a regular boss, this was the governor. And I was excited to meet him, and then I was really confused when he started making passes at me. And so he tried it again. He pulled me again, and this time his hand went up my culotte leg, was trying to go up to my crotch area, and he was kissing me on the neck, and I pulled away and said, "Stop." I said, "I'm not that kind of girl." And I said, I don't know, we were talking again.
Did he kind of think that was cute? That you said, "I'm not that kind of girl"?
I don't know, but I think he does like to get caught, or either like, for women to reject him, I think, and he keeps trying more. I think that's just him. I think he's got a sickness. I really do.
Because, I mean, here they're onto him for like 4 years, and he doesn't stop then either.
No, he doesn't.
He almost loses everything. How many times?
Right, and I've had this suit going on for 4.5 years, and he's been sitting there doing stuff with her in the Oval Office, and I think he just likes that excitement or whatever, or the...
Well, a lot of guys are like that.
I guess.
Well, I want to hear about him pulling his pants down, but I have to do a damn commercial first. We'll be right back with Paula Jones.
I have been telling the truth. I have witnesses. This is not just my word against his. I am committed to see this case through as long as it takes. And in the end, I know I will get my good name and reputation back. Thank you.
We're back with Paula Jones. So, okay, now we're up to the part where he's going to drop his pants.
Right.
Tell me about that, and how freaked out are you at that point?
Well, I was already scared.
He stands up and pulls his pants down, right?
Well, yeah, he was standing. I was over by the chair, sitting by like on the chair arm. It's a big chair. It's a big couch thing. I was kind of leaning up. I said, "What am I going?" I was thinking, "Am I going to dart out the door? What am I going to do?" Because it was the closest to the door. I didn't know how to do it. I was easing across the floor so I could get as close to the door as I could. And the next thing you know it, I turned around. He had his pants pulled down and was sit on the couch, because I was right here sitting on the armchair, just kind of leaning, more or less, not really sitting. And he had pulled his pants down and he exposed himself. I mean, it was all the way to the floor. And with people say, well, how do you, was it hard to get his pants down? How did you not know? Well, dress slacks are kind of, easy to get off or whatever. And he had just dropped them all the way down, had kind of leaned, he was kind of leaning back. His rear end was closer to the edge, and he was leaning back like this. And he was exposed. He was fondling himself. And he asked me if I would kiss it. And it was...
What did you do?
Well, I got really... I was like terrified, and I said, no, I'm not that kind of girl. And I jumped up, and I said, I got to be going. I got to be getting back to the room, getting back down to the hotel, the desk. And he said, well, I don't want to make you do something you don't want to do. But he was still sitting there fondling himself. And his face was just beet red. But he could tell when I said no that I meant it this time. Well, he proceeded to pull up his pants and everything. And I walked over to the door. And before I left out, he said, if you have any problems, have Dave Harrington call me immediately,
Your
which
boss.
was his good friend. And because I was scared I was going to get in trouble anyway. And I opened the door. And before I left out, he put his hand on it for a few moments, and he said, you're a smart girl, let's keep this between ourselves. Now, that was a threat. Or, you know,
It's kind of
it was a threat. Don't
yeah.
tell nobody, or you know what you're going to get. You're smart, don't do it. I mean, that was a threat. And I've heard other people say, well, she wasn't threatened. Well, I was threatened. He threatened me himself. Keep it quiet. Don't tell anybody. And then I left out, and I walked down the hall, and...
Do you think that it's possible that this is just his M.O.? I mean, it seems like maybe, you know, you weren't the first one, probably. We don't know, you know, we all assume that, you know, that was something that was going on for a long time with him.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't know that at the time.
No, you didn't know. But now, looking back, do you think that maybe this was just his M.O., that the guy goes and, well, they've said that they go find him
That's
girls
what they
and
do.
bring
They
him up.
said it's a, yeah, because...
And he's just so used to dropping his pants and asking somebody
and he
to
thought
kiss
they would
his
do
penis.
it. I felt I did something wrong. After I went to the hotel room, I felt dirty. I felt like that I was the one who did something wrong instead of what he just did to me. So...
That's the classic way
yeah,
they do
I felt
it.
like I was the dirty one, that I had done something wrong. And I was afraid to let her know that, because I thought I had done something wrong for even going up to the stupid room. And I wouldn't do that
Could you just
now.
see it in your head, the whole thing, it was going to play out? Could you just see the way it was going to play out, that you were going to get blamed? And you were going to get shamed, and you were going to bear the whole brunt of it?
Well, that's the way I felt, because I felt like I did something wrong. After I went up there and seen what had happened, I thought, why did I even go up there? But now, yeah, I've been blamed for it all, that, you know, it's my fault because I've brought it forward and exposed this man. And I think I've done something good for women in America, actually.
How many women here have had that on the job with your boss? I mean, you know, how many women have, well, me included, I mean, I had this one boss. This was like the worst. I gotta tell this story real quick. I had this boss, I worked at this pizza place, I was 18 years old, 17. And I go in there every day, and he told me, I mean, it's how stupid I was. But I go sit, and he wanted me to sit on this stool and smoke. And I go, well, when am I supposed to clean the pizza ovens, you know? And, no, this is for real.
But he wanted you to sit on a stool and smoke?
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know, but he was paying me $7 an hour. So I just did it because I needed the money, and you know, and that was my job. And I thought, well, he's just kind of a loony guy. He's old and everything. And then, like, he'd tell me to clean the pizza ovens, and he'd make me get up on this ladder and bend way over into cleaning the pizza oven. But it was my first job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to do what you're asked or whatever. Or,
Check this out, though. Later, when I come back to go to work, like 3 days after that, the job only lasted 3 days. They go, that guy's the janitor.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I think it happens. I think it happens all the time. And when these guys are allowed to get away with it, and, you know, I never told nobody either because I knew what they would say about me.
Absolutely, because it would be your fault.
We're going to be right back with more Paula Jones. I think we're going to the audience. For some questions. I'm starting with you, ma'am.
Paula, I'd like to ask you a question. Has this long ordeal made you a stronger woman?
Absolutely, it has. I mean, I have grown as a person in the last 4 years. I've learned a lot about everything, I think, and about sexual harassment, and it has made me a very much stronger woman.
And now you've kind of decided that this is a cause you're going to champion, right? You're going to go around And do a lot of lectures and stuff
I would
on
love
that?
to, yes. I mean, because I want women to know, you know, what it's like to get that kind of abuse in the workplace and have your boss make passes at you and then you feel like you can't say anything. And I want them to come forward and to be able to talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Should I go over here now, mister? Hi, mister.
Hi.
What's your question?
Yeah, Paula, at first I thought that you were attacking the president. Now I've changed my mind. I don't think the president should be impeached, but I was wondering if you still think he should be impeached.
Yeah, and let me explain why. He lied to the American people. He wagged his finger at you and every one of us, and he lied and let all of his people who worked for him go out for 7 months or more, knowing that he was lying, and defend him. But he knew that he was lying to them, but they went out and told the whole world that he didn't do it, and then he wagged his finger and said, I didn't have sex with that woman, I didn't have any kind of relationship with her. He should be impeached. He lied. He perjured himself under oath in my deposition. Absolutely, I think he should be impeached.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Miss Jones, one question. Are you an opportunist?
No. No, I'm not.
Is that something that makes you upset to hear, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, after everything I'm saying out here, you know, and they still think I'm an opportunist, I don't understand that. I have a right to come
You
over.
have 2 kids and you guys live in a 1-room apartment, don't you?
Absolutely. We live in a
And
one-bedroom condo.
probably how much of that money in the settlement you got is owed?
Oh, I owe $3.5 million in legal fees, and so I can't see where people would think that I would get very much money, if any, out of it. And it's not like I'm doing anything else to make any money at this
Was
point.
the time that you were doing it, the 4 years where you were under that microscope, were you like dedicated? What kept you going?
Just the truth, because I knew I was telling the truth, and the truth will set you free. And we've struggled for 4.5 years. My husband has lost his job because of this. I mean, we have been financially strapped. I mean, many, many times when people would be out saying they're living off the legal fund, which was a blatant lie. And it's been a hard process, but the truth matters more than anything is the truth. And I knew that it would come out, and I knew I was telling the truth.
I don't think that's an opportunist. Yes, ma'am?
Hi.
Hi.
How has your perception of the media changed since you've been getting so much attention?
Oh, my God, that's such a great question. I'm so glad you asked that.
Well, I don't know. They can be really, really vicious. Like, you know, dogs attacking. They attack each other even. You know, I mean, it's been really, really difficult as far as the media would be on the other side and be against me, and I would still have to fight even with the media, even if some people would go out there and talk for me or to try to protect me as far as what the media said about me, they would get attacked. So the media haven't really given me a really good fair share, but I think they have been lately.
More questions from the audience when we return after these commercials.
As you know, 2 weeks ago, the court in Little Rock surprisingly dismissed my case. I was shocked. Yeah.
Take your time. Take your time, take a deep breath.
I'm sorry.
Here we are, back at the Roseanne show with Paula Jones in the audience. I guess you're next, ma'am.
All right. I'd like to ask you, Paula, the very first time you met him before he dropped his pants, did you find him sexy? Did you find Bill sexy?
No. It's like I said, well, we were making fun of him because his hair was kind of long and it was grayish looking, and he had this tight suit on that didn't fit him very good. Not at all.
Well, I met him, and I thought he was real sexy.
Oh, you
I have
did?
to say, yeah, I did.
Well,
I did.
Now,
I think that's the difference, though. That's the difference, because, like, you know, if I was to meet him and I wasn't married, you know, and if he wasn't married and all that, and and I invited him to drop his pants, I would have gone for it, you know? I would have. I think, you know, the whole thing is you didn't ask for it. You didn't ask him to drop his pants, and you didn't think he was cute.
Absolutely.
So let's go to the next question.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, hi.
Did you have any prior sexual encounters with the president, then governor, before that dreadful day?
Oh, no. I never met him. First time I ever seen the man in person, ever.
Oh, okay.
Because just a few minutes before that, he was standing out in front of our table, and he was giving interviews and stuff, and that was the closest I'd ever seen him or in person or anything.
Why would you ask that?
I don't know. You know, it's like maybe she had sex with him prior, and then at a certain time in the hotel room, she didn't want to have sex anymore.
Ah! That's a funny story. No, that's not true.
I don't know.
No, I've never met him before.
Okay. Just my personal opinion.
Okay.
No offense.
Opinion based on what? Opinion has to be based on something.
Based on a setup.
You think she set the president up? A lot of people think you set the president up.
Oh, that's so funny. Just like all these hundreds of women set the president up, I guess. No,
What'd they
I
set
never
him
met
up
him.
for?
To
lie
impeach
to
him.
the country?
To impeach him.
Well, he has to be available to be set up first.
Money.
No, he has to be available to be set up. If he was going to be set up, he would have to be that type of person to fall into the trap of
Why
other
didn't
women.
you back off when he tried that first pass? Why didn't you back off?
Well, that's a good question, and I respect that. That's a good question. But I was scared, like I said. I knew there was a bodyguard with a state trooper who was his bodyguard who had a gun. And this was the governor. First time I'd ever met him. And it was just very scary. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out and without getting in trouble or maybe them doing something to me or
So
whatever.
you thought he was going to shoot you if you ran?
Well, he could have. I mean, you know what?
If women are not going to be present for women, what the hell are we doing? Yeah, ma'am.
Paula, I was wondering, what are your thoughts regarding Chelsea Clinton hearing all about her dad?
I feel sorry for her because she's the victim in all of this. I feel very sorry for her, but her father chose this route, and he had to think about Chelsea before he decided to do all this stuff, knowing it would come out.
We'll be right back with more Paula Jones after this. We're going to take one more question, ma'am.
Paula, I think you've shown a lot of courage in pursuing this cause on sexual harassment, and the only problem I have is that it would appear that you first of all went to what would be termed the right wing of the country, which has never been for women's rights or against sexual harassment, and I was wondering what prompted you to go to them first rather than the women's movement or 9 to 5 working women or somebody.
I'm so glad you asked that question.
That's a good question.
Oh, that's a great question, because what a lot of people don't know, and probably the majority of Americans don't know, my first attorney was a Yellow Dog Democrat. He was from Arkansas. And
what does Yellow Dog Democrat mean?
Democrat. I mean, everything supported Clinton and everything. Their whole family did. He was a real estate lawyer, but he knew that I had a claim and that he believed me and wanted to help me. And so what he did was he started contacting different groups and organizations, the NOW organization, different ones, to say, you've got to hear her. She's telling the truth. You know, you've got to hear what she has to say. How can she bring this out? Nobody would help me. No, went to the NOW organization, different ones. They turned their backs on me.
Why do you think they wouldn't?
Because it was their man. This is Bill Clinton. This is their man. And I'm a woman, And they're supposed to support all women and back up all women and their claims. But they wouldn't even give me a chance to listen to me. They wouldn't even meet with me or listen to me. And Patricia Ireland would say that she did try, but she didn't try hard enough or she would have met with me 4 years ago. And
so they kind of attack you for the people who defended you.
Yeah, because that was the only forum I had. That was the only forum that I had was the OPAC convention. And like I said, my lawyer, who was a Democrat at the time, said that this is the only forum that we're going to get. I couldn't call a press conference myself. Nobody would come. That was the forum that I used, and I do regret that. I regret that. If I know now what I did then, you know, then I wouldn't have went out that way. But I do applaud them for giving me a forum to bring this out. But that's the only way I could bring it out is through the OPAC convention or whatever.
So you think the reason that they didn't come to your defense, even though it was a sexual harassment thing, is because, you know, they were in bed or he was their man?
I believe so. I mean, that had a big part of it. I mean, that was their man, and I was going against the man who represents, you know, women's issues and women's rights.
But what is a bigger women's issue than this? Than sexual harassment?
From what I can understand, probably nothing. I mean, and they just turned their backs on me. They didn't want to help me. They didn't believe me. They didn't take me serious. And they never wanted to meet. They never met me to try to help me.
After this commercial, more with Paula Jones. Back with Paula Jones. What's the big thing you've learned after all these years?
That all women should fight for their rights, and because no matter how much money or power the other person has, you have to fight for what's right and for what somebody did wrong to you. Because I've been through it for 4.5 years, and I have won. It's taken a lot of power and a lot of money behind it, but I have won. So it's worth it.
It was worth it?
Well, it's
Can you really say it was worth it?
Well, I can now since it's been settled, but it's been, I would have to think hard about ever doing it again because people didn't take me serious. I didn't have anybody to come out and support me. The only lady that come to my defense was a dear friend of mine, is Susie McMillan, and even my hairdresser, Daniel DeCriscio, he was a really good friend, and they stuck with me through thick and thin, and they were just, and my husband, he's just been there supporting me, and that's all I had. That is all I had. I didn't have a big entourage like a lot of people think I had. I did it myself because I knew what was right, and I fought hard for it.
I just can't believe that you actually think it was worth it.
Well, it was, though, because it brought a lot of issues to America about women in the workplace who are sexually harassed. It's made a lot of different rules, I think, for women nowadays.
How do you think it's changed it for women? I mean, if they took the tooth out of the only law we have.
Well, that's true, but I think that, like the Supreme Court just ruled in the Burlington that you don't have to show job detriment because even if you can't show it, you know, you're emotionally, I don't care what it was, if it was a pat on the behind, they can't do that to you. So I think my case has helped a lot of issues regarding sexual harassment.
How do you think history is going to remember Paula Jones?
Somebody who fought for what was right and going up against the power and the money. And I hope that people will realize that, and I'm a mother, I've got 2 little boys, but I was going to fight for what was right and get justice for the power and the money that usually always, you know, wins.
Well, they definitely really had a lot of power and money on their side to try to silence you and keep you wrapped up for years and years. Because I think, you know, when you wrap people up in the courts, you know they don't have the money to proceed.
Right.
So, but you still...
Well, with the thanks for different ones, you know, with my lawyers and stuff that would, you know, the way their fees would set up and stuff, because they really believed me, and I appreciate my lawyers for believing in me and
you
carrying this through.
You wanted him to apologize, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, but you know, if he apologized to me today, it doesn't mean a thing. He lies. He can't be trusted. He wagged his finger at the American people and lied. It wouldn't mean a thing. So he's been so used to doing it, it doesn't mean anything anymore. I wouldn't want an apology from him. It's empty. Doesn't mean a thing to me. So that's why I decided I didn't need an apology, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. Because he doesn't mean it. It doesn't come from his heart.
You're real strong.
A lot of people couldn't have held up as long as you did under it. What are you going to do in the future?
Just go back. I just want a simple life, a little house, and raise my 2 little boys, and be a room mother at school. That's what I've been trying to do, and it's just been kind of difficult doing that and having to do with all this stuff.
Is it safe for you to go out? Is it safe to be in the world?
I hope so. I mean, I've been out there. I hope nobody's running around corners or nothing, trying to get me or nothing, but...
Well, I hope it is safe, because...
I hope so. And my little kids, you know, I've worried about them. That's why my oldest is 6 years old, and I held him back a year because I was so scared to let him out of my wings, you know. I was too scared, but he's in kindergarten this year, so...
I wish you the best. I hope your
you.
life goes, you know, really safe and well from here on, and I think you're a real brave woman.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So what'd you think of that Deborah Norville? She works for the same Joes I work for, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was real professional. She's intimidating, though. She intimidated me a little bit. I've had so much criticism and everything from different ones, and all these people on all these talk shows badgering back and forth about my new nose and about my new hairstyle and everything. That
Why do they keep talking about the way you look now and the way you used to look then, the way your hair looks, and nobody gets to like the real deal?
They don't.
Why is that?
It's because they have a personal issue, I guess, with me instead of what has happened with Bill Clinton. It seems to me as though that they're not blaming him for what he did to me, but I have to look a certain way or act a certain way, and they just attack me, and they go after the victim and try to make them look as though that they did something wrong. And they talk about my looks and
they talk about, you know, people in trailer courts. What's that about?
I don't know. I've never lived in a trailer park. I've never lived in a trailer in my life.
No, but even if you had, Paula,
why would it matter?
People who live in trailer parks are huge. Are going to raise our roof today, I have a feeling. I'm so excited about my show today. Okay, you know who's here. Paula Jones is here. And to me, after we clear away everything, the whole thing is about one issue. And here's what I think's going on. In fact, here is what's going on. It's not just my opinion. The president perjured himself in his deposition for the Paula Jones civil case when he denied that he had a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. Now, Kenneth Starr charges that he possibly broke the law again by covertly asking Monica and perhaps other people to lie under oath, too. This is why Paula matters, because without Paula, there's no Monica. And stripping away the layers of the onion, for those of us who cook, there really is a deeper issue underneath the Clintonite spin of this right-wing conspiracy to get the president, because I guess apparently conservatives are not letting the president keep his pants zipped up or something. And also underneath the feeding frenzy of the news media and beneath what seems like to me the total hypocrisy of all the feminist organizations, not to mention the glee that the conservatives display believing they bring down a Democrat president, which has totally backfired on them. The real issue here, underneath all the stuff, is sexual harassment. In the
the workplace. And the fact is that both of these people's lives, our president and Paula's lives, were altered, and so was the life of our country altered forever because of what happened on May 8, 1991. Today we're going to hear from the woman who has recently been vindicated, borrowing a phrase that us feminists used in the 60s. What happens to women either matters or it doesn't. Decide again today. After 4 years of living under a microscope, she's finally won a settlement with our president, Bill Clinton, for $850,000. Now that sounds like an apology to me. Please welcome Paula Jones. Clinton supporters.
Absolutely. He
Right?
he sends his pit bulls out to attack the people who are the biggest supporters of Bill Clinton, who are the low-income people that maybe can't afford anything else. And there's nothing wrong with living in a trailer. But the way they spun it, it was though it was a pitiful shame to live in a trailer park and you drag a $100 bill through a trailer park and see what you'll come up with. It was really sad and it hurt.
How much do you think that the whole... It seems to me like we're moving more and more towards a two-tiered system, which, I mean, everybody already says we have in the courts. Justice for the rich and none for the poor, and a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with that, like elite people and then the lower classes. How much of that has to do with the fact that Paula Jones grew up in a working-class family?
I don't know. I just think that, well, I don't have a law degree, you know, and like Anita Hill did when she claimed that there was a pubic hair on a Coke can, and that was sexual harassment. All the now organizations, women come out for her. They didn't me. I really don't know.
You know what bugs me about that with the whole rallying around Anita Hill, which, I mean, I'm not saying it's about Anita Hill or nothing like that, but Clarence Thomas apparently is right, because he said that it was just a big feeding frenzy of a whole bunch of white women going after a black man. And yet these very same women turned on you and protected the white man who has 10 times the strikes against him that Clarence Thomas ever had.
Well, look at his trail. I mean, look at all the stuff that's been said about him and all the women that have come forward and different things. I don't know why they do that. You know, it's just...
It seems it seems old. It seems like something that...
It's just their tactic.
People like me fought like 25 years to get away from blaming women for stuff that men do.
Right. It's going right back, blaming me, dragging up the penthouse pictures that it was pictures that I had taken with a former boyfriend that was very humiliating at the time. I was 19 years old. And they drug those out, trying to make it look as though I was a loose woman. And
that's what they outlawed in rape cases, that you were not going to be able to attack the victim's sexual past
anymore. And it set us back 50 years. Just the president set us back 50 years of this whole situation, and all of his pit bulls, you know, that come forward and attack the women. All the women that have come out in this case, I mean, they're not making this up. I guess they think every woman is lying on Bill Clinton. They're not making it up, and they just attack every single one of them.
And the thing that's so disturbing to me about it is, one of the things, there's 1,000 things that are disturbing as a woman and